Nancy's expression told it all. Are these guys going to come to blows? She thought. She'd never seen a meeting like this before. We certainly had the conflict part down. Hi, I'm Phil Coerper, Managing Director of Ringling Business Solutions. It's been an amazing Season 1 of the CEO's Field Manual series. Thanks to all of you who have followed and supported us. This is our last episode in Season 1, and I want to revisit the people who made these stories worth telling. I think a key difference between this field manual and other leadership content is these episodes are not generic business advice. They're hard-earned lessons only available by living through very challenging situations. In this episode, we'll hit the top insights from the entire first season series. Grab these takeaways and you'll have added decades of hard knocks lessons to your toolbox. So let's jump right in. First, almost every story in the series highlights relationships, and indeed, relationships are your most durable competitive advantage. This sounds obvious, but requires a mindset and diligent work. Are we making consistent personal investments to build our relationship foundations? When I've won, I've looked back and had made those key investments. But I've also blown up relationships over the years by mismanaging conflict. When I've come up short, I learned hard lessons or took the key relationships for granted. Remember Bobby, the elderly Southern gentleman from episode 1? Bobby only signed the lease agreement because of years of genuine relationship investment. Had I tried to force the issue with him like my New York sponsor wanted, we would have not only burned down that relationship, but lost a key deal. I said, Bobby, this is a fair deal for both of us, and I need to close this sell-leaseback for the success of the company. I'm asking you to agree. It's a good and fair deal, and I'm asking you to sign it. He hesitated and then said, okay, Phil, and signed the agreement. Some takeaways and lessons. Invest in relationships and trust. You never know who at some point is going to be sitting on the other side of the table. Build, don't burn. Then there's Carl's political wisdom that saved the company repeatedly in episode 20. Carl taught us how years of investment in relationships will pay off in key moments. Victor and Ivan from Russia were loyal because of built-up respect. The Mason brothers from episode 18 and Mr. Mason returning respect by sharing his financials. Build and cherish long-term relationships in both directions and make it personal and genuine. Your business will prosper along the way. Second, the loneliest CEO decision is usually the most important one. In leadership, there are key moments of truth. These defining moments come with no playbook, no consensus, and no guarantee. It's just your personal judgment. Plus, much of the advice you'll get at these moments can be just plain wrong. This is what you sign up for as a CEO. The Russia recommendations from episode 11, where I turned down a lucrative business opportunity. The plant closure communication timing in episode 19. The GM John D-Day plan from episode 2, and again the Bobby negotiation from episode 1. These are the moments that separate executives as leaders. The more you make these calls with the interest of the enterprise trumping your own personal interest, the higher your level of success will be. You know when it's a moment of truth. There's a critical decision to make. You've heard the options and opinions. Now it's on you to make the call and own it. These can be your loneliest and most stressful times in leadership. No one bats 1,000, so on critical decisions, when it goes sideways, it's also on you to own it and clean up the spill on aisle 13. Third, the people closest to the actual work almost always have the answer. Kathy from episode 6 knew the ERP had too many clicks. Stacy from episode 10 knew exactly what the employees thought of the new CEO. Glenn from episode 13 knew there was a ton the UK company could do to grow. And the shipping container in the back of Ed's plant opened up an entire new market. The lesson, the information you need is usually already in the building. The question is whether you're engaging and listening. Fourth, people with low integrity or high hubris almost always defeat themselves. GM John thought he was smarter than everyone in episode 2, and even secretly recorded our conversations for future leverage. The acquisition team got intoxicated by the smell of their own perfume in episode 17. Don assumed his team had no upside in the UK episodes. Remember the reckoning of the Chinese detectives and GM John from episode 2? John's horrible integrity and high hubris landed him in jail. There was back and forth between our lawyers and the detectives, all in Mandarin. Then the translations started to get shared. The detectives initially were not enthusiastic at all. As suspected, we're a U.S. company. We got screwed because we hired a dishonest GM. Not their problem. Then they completely turned. What changed was when we told them what GM John's compensation was. A detective in China maybe makes several thousand US per year. When they heard what John was being paid and then how much he also likely stole, they were almost as pissed off as my chairman. Too greedy for them to let it pass, is what they said. They checked and reported that GM John was not currently in China. They told us the next time he entered the country, they would arrest him. I asked what turned out to be a completely dumb question. I asked the detectives if they arrested him, what would be the likelihood of a conviction? They looked at me like I was an idiot and said, everyone we arrest is guilty, so 100%. I had forgotten for a second I was not in the U.S. And don't forget the hard landing of Steve, the CEO, in episode 17, years after a key merger went sideways. It's one thing to be confident and decisive as CEO. It's another to be overconfident in your own position and underestimate those around you. Overconfidence and hubris is a trap waiting. Fifth, how you navigate the hard things defines you more than what you decide in any given situation. The Russian net, the plant closure, the GM John termination, the dress down aftermath from episode 12. In every case, the decision itself can be less important than how we show up to execute it. Transparency over comfort. Personal presence over delegation in key moments. Dignity for the people on the receiving end when it's hard calls that need to be made. Sue and Tony from the episode 19 said it better than I ever could. Phil, this sucks, but you are here for us every step. The more we make these traits who we are, the more people will trust and follow us, and the better outcomes for all involved. At some point, I've missed on every one of these and learned some hard lessons. This field manual isn't a textbook. It's what you carry into the actual fight. The lessons here weren't theoretical. They came from Bobby's office, a Moscow hotel, a UK plant floor, a Chinese police station, and a plant town hall where good people were losing their jobs. I started this series to share my stories and hopefully add some value. What I didn't expect was how much writing them would remind me of the people who made them possible. Bobby, Stacy, Ron, Victor, and Ivan, the UK team, they didn't just appear in my stories, they shaped who I became as a leader. I hope they also help shape you on your leadership journey. Thanks again for tuning in and subscribing. The CEO Field Manual book is in the works and due to be published this fall. If you're a subscriber, you'll get a great discount when it comes out, so watch for that. I look forward to sharing many new stories and lessons learned in the upcoming Season 2 of the CEO's Field Manual. We'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. Please subscribe, and we'll see you at a future video.